Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. There was a huge development yesterday pertaining to a very important civil case against Trump that ties directly to the special counsel against him. Okay? It was a terrible, terrible thing that took place. An officer, the life of an officer was lost the day after that fateful day in January. It wasn't Trump's fault. The federal judge found that it wasn't Trump's fault. Okay? And the federal judge also, in what Newsweek called a major win in civil suit, found that he was not liable essentially for what took place that day or for people who lost their lives that day. Most of whom, well, all of whom that day were supporters of Trump. So we'll get to all of this. Hit subscribe to this channel right now, ladies and gentlemen. Your super chat is greatly appreciated. Helps me do these live streams. And this is on a very important topic because this sets the foundation for the Supreme Court overturning any conviction of Trump. And it really dismantles the special counsel case. We'll get to that. The special counsel is essentially, because of this civil ruling, is essentially unable to accuse Trump, to directly link Trump to the events of that day. If you can't link Trump to a life lost because of that day, then you can't link all the other accusations to Trump, saying that he performed a speech and therefore all this mayhem and chaos was his fault. Okay, hit subscribe to this channel, to my super chat. Thank you so very much. Indy, hello. Everyone here. Henry Mann, hello. Nico, hello. In Australia. Ross, hello, everybody. Ursa, hello. So basically what took place is the following. Okay. We'll go to the Daily Beast here. Judge drops most but not all the counts. The judge dropped the most important counts for the special counsel. It was a civil case that tried to accuse Trump of essentially ending someone's life because of Trump's irresponsibility or speech or discontent or inability to accept results. So because he performed a speech, they're accusing him of getting everyone riled up and influencing all of these people to commit crimes. And because of that, a life was lost. An officer's life was lost the day after or a couple days after. And the civil case is saying that it's because of Trump. Now, the federal judge dismissed that. And right here, you can read, the move is likely a win for Trump and fellow defendants, though a lawsuit will still move forward with the core allegations on which he was filed. The core allegations, though, are that he is at fault for a life lost. Okay, that's what the judge dismissed. So, this is a huge, huge victory because if you look, ladies and gentlemen, you can look at the indictment in D.C. It's really, really interesting. The indictment in D.C. says that Trump had a right to contest results, but the victims of Trump's actions were the country, Congress, and the American voters. How are you going to prove that? In a D.C. Jury might convict Trump, okay? But it'll be overturned. The Supreme Court is not going to... They overturned a corruption conviction in 2016 because of boundless definitions. This is a prime example of boundless definitions. Okay, the country was not a victim of anything Trump did that day. People were let into the building. He did not know anyone committing crimes, nor did he tell anyone to commit a crime. By the way, to my super chat, thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. And so, it's essentially, the special counsel is essentially done. The special counsel has to prove, I mean, whether they convict Trump, the civil case being dismissed, most of the counts of the civil case being dismissed, or the most important counts of the civil case pertaining to the officer whose life was lost. Okay, it's true. He would likely be alive today were it not for that day. But the people committing crimes had nothing to do with Trump. Nobody, the civil case could not prove, and this is why the judge dismissed the most damaging accusations against Trump. They tried to say that Trump's actions that day led to the officer's loss of life. But that was dismissed by the federal judge in D.C. because they couldn't prove that he did that. They could not prove that. So they couldn't. Ladies and gentlemen, can you hear me now? Sorry about that. Can you hear me right now, ladies and gentlemen? Let me ask this question. Can you hear me okay right now? Sorry about the little technical issue. All right, so what took place, ladies and gentlemen, was the following. Okay, good. What took place was the following. Okay, thank you, Henry. Thank you, John. Everybody here. Richard, hello. Nico, hello. So basically what took place, ladies and gentlemen, is that the civil case was trying to prove that someone lost their life. And actually, I believe that the judge or the court stated that the officer would be alive today were it not for the for what took place that day. Okay? Robert, thank you. So the civil case it would have been easier to link Trump in a civil case than a criminal case. But they couldn't. The judge said Trump had nothing to do with this officer's loss of life. Therefore, if you cannot prove that someone lost their life because of Trump, how on earth are you going to prove that the entire country, Congress, and every American voter was harmed in some way? How are you going to prove that as a special counsel? That's why the special counsel is pretty much done. So you have to ask yourself, what are they doing right now? Trump is in the driver's seat. I think we're going to have a devastating market crash. I really do think we're going to have a terrible market crash. That's right. Several days later, or I forgot exactly when the officer lost his life, but it's a terrible thing. That officer should be alive today. Terrible, terrible thing, but it's not Trump's fault. People commit crimes for a number of reasons, none of which have to do with Donald Trump. If the Democratic Party wants to make you think, and wants to make the average American, every American think that Trump's discontent, his anger at what he believes was a Bernie Sanders DNC contest on a national scale, when Bernie Sanders was completely railroaded by the Democratic Party, Trump believes that they did that to him. And so, Paul, hello. Hello, Paul. Paul Bartlett. So they're pretty much, the special counsel's pretty much done, especially because there wasn't really a case against Trump even after a whole year of the January committee in Congress. They didn't find anything. None of these people actually found anything. And when the Supreme Court the other day, in big victory, another big victory for Trump. So you have Newsweek, Trump scores major win in civil suit, and then in just a couple of days before, in big victory for Trump, the Supreme Court tells Jack Smith to go away. Trump wants to run the clock out on his criminal trials. The Supreme Court just gave him a significant assist. Well, of course, because you're not going to prove that Trump's speech directly led to any criminal activity. That's what Orange Grove, hello. That's what you have to prove. And to my super chat, thanks everybody. I can't do these live streams without you. Paul Bartlett! Paul Bartlett! Thank you so much, sir. As always, thank you so very much. Paul Bartlett, thank you. You're going to have to prove, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have to prove that Jack Smith is going to have to prove, and Paul, thank you so very, very much to my super chat, thank you, that his speech directly led to criminal behavior. And what took place here, if you read the Vox article, in a surprising move, which isn't surprising at all, because all of these, if he's convicted, it'll be overturned. But as the Supreme Court announced on Friday that it will not hear Donald Trump's claim that he is immune from prosecution. That's because they didn't find he has presidential immunity when performing a speech. You can't say that a president's speech caused someone to commit a crime, especially when he uses the word peaceful. It's a tremendous victory for Trump as his criminal trial for his attempt to remain in office. He didn't try to remain in office. What he wanted to do was .com, hello. What he wanted to do was tell the world that things were not fair. He didn't really have an investigation. He didn't have the luxury of any law enforcement agency. There were a great many experts that backed Trump, none of which were interviewed by mainstream media publications or cable stations. Henry! Mika Brzezinski's, she used the word 3 times in the 15 seconds abroad. So, you know what? Henry, thank you so very much. They're using the word authoritarian and despot and totalitarian because it's like, Henry, it's like, and Paul Bartlett, thank you, Henry, it's like an artificial intelligence robot that ran out of code, or it's like an artificial intelligence robot. The media pundits that have devoted 7 years to disparaging Trump, they have nothing else to say. And they're also very arrogant, and there's a great deal of hubris there. So they are the ones who want to kick Trump off the ballot, indict him for things he didn't do, send him to prison for the rest of his life, and they're the ones who want to send Americans to every single military conflict in the world. And Trump is the one who presided over prison reform legislation, record low poverty, and he brought Americans home, and he is the authoritarian. The people who don't like Trump are literally the militant, the militant wing of American politics that wants to censor everybody and silence debate and speech. And yet he's the authoritarian. It's unbelievable. Henry, thank you. Paul, thank you. And so here, a tremendous victory for Trump. So he's getting victory after victory. This whole year will be full of victories, ladies and gentlemen. This entire year will be full of victories. It's going to be a truly amazing year. And I do think, unfortunately, that we're going to have a devastating stock market crash. Unfortunately, I think that's what's going to take place. I do think that we will have a devastating stock market crash, unfortunately. And that's a whole other story. But, I mean, there's no stopping Trump this year. It's just a matter of the lengths or the depths that they go to try to prevent Trump regaining the Oval Office. I mean, it's the country has this fatigue. It's not Trump fatigue. It's anti-Trump fatigue. People are tired of the endless vitriol and venom towards Trump. They're tired of it. Richard, hello. I haven't done my Bernard Sanders in a long time. It's been a long time since I've done. Lawrence, hello. It's been a long time since I've done the Bernie. I got to deal with all this Michigas. But if you keep reading, it's really interesting. The tremendous victory for Trump. Trump's strategy since the special counsel brought a pair of indictments against him earlier this year has been to try to delay his trials as much as possible. No, that's not the only strategy. If Trump, he will regain control of the Justice Department and can order it to drop charges against him, which he will. Which he will. Okay. Smith asked the Supreme Court to bypass federal appeals court and decide whether Trump is immune from prosecution as quickly as possible. The interesting thing is, the Supreme Court was not given an actual list of crimes, or if they were. Robert, thank you so very much. However you want to write is totally fine. Robert Winsman, thank you. I appreciate you watching, Robert, and I thank you for joining the chat. Thank you so very much, Robert, and I hope you have a wonderful, amazing 2024. And I'm just honored that you're here, and everybody here. I'm honored everybody is here. Thank you. So the interesting thing is, they couldn't even convince the Supreme Court that Trump committed these crimes. So the civil case is huge, because the civil case, they can't. In the civil case, the judge dismissed the count where Trump is personally liable for another man's life being lost. Okay, if you cannot prove that Trump's actions led to somebody losing their life, how on earth can you prove that the victims are Congress, the United States government, and the American voter? Henry Man! New presenters are just parrots repeating talking points. Yep. Exactly, tipping point. The walls are closing in. The walls are closing in. Exactly, Henry. The walls are closing in. The walls are closing in. Paul, hello. Thank you again. Exactly, Henry. I mean, that's the thing, you know. That's the thing. When you have an entire media apparatus singing the same song every single day, the same song. I mean, imagine you turned on the radio. Well, I don't know if anybody turns on the radio anymore, but imagine you listen to music on YouTube or whatever, and you listen to the same song every single day. I mean, you'd get tired of it. I mean, you'd have enough of. I've listened to songs that I love probably hundreds of times. Okay, but there's always a moment where I say, okay, I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna listen to this song. I'm gonna wait for a month or so, it happens naturally. But imagine if you listen to the same tune all the time. Trump is an authoritarian. Trump is rude. Trump is mean. Trump is an ogre. Oh my God, you can't vote for Trump. It's like, at the end of the day, if you tell somebody long enough you don't want them to do something, they're going to want to do it just to spite you. Jacob, hello. They're going to want to do it just to spite you. If you tell, I mean, especially a person younger in age, especially if you don't have a good reason. Like if you tell somebody, don't listen to that band, don't eat that food, don't listen to that band. These are things that, like, well, why? You know, so it's like they keep repeating the same thing over and over again. It doesn't work. People don't care, by the way, anymore. Like, he has a brash personality. Nobody cares anymore about the sensibilities of morally superior liberal Democrats. It's about the sensibilities of these people. They have infused their sensibilities into politics. They have absolutely infused their sensibilities into politics. And the great thing about Trump is he's the most gigantic middle finger. Trump is a middle finger seen throughout the galaxy. If you're tired of business as usual and you want that enormous, gigantic, celestial, galactic middle finger, that's Trump. That's Trump. And also, like, media's, every once in a while, like, look, I'm not really a fan of these publications, but every once in a while, the Daily Beast and Vox, they write good articles. They have to, because it's a victory for Trump. Like, they can't not spin it. Like, look, it's obviously a victory. It's obviously a victory. Newsweek, there's no way to spin it. How can you possibly spin? And I've been saying this the whole time, ladies and gentlemen. I've been saying this the whole time. I've been saying that the law is going to favor Trump. Okay? You do not have to be a legal scholar to understand basic concepts in politics and law. If you make absurd leaps of logic, the Supreme Court is going to state, like they did in 2016, that boundless definitions of criminal conduct or corruption can't be used to convict a politician. That's it. So here you have Judge Trump's, in a move that's likely a win for Trump and defendants. You have the Daily Beast, Newsweek, and Vox all stating that Trump got major victories in the Supreme Court and in the civil case. Christine Chong, hello! Christine, hello! Happy New Year to you, Christine. Happy New Year. Only the best and a wonderful, beautiful 2024 for you, Christine. Thank you. Thank you so very, very much. Exactly, Stephen. Johnny Cash. Love Johnny Cash. So, you have to prove that Trump, with his speech, and this is what it comes down to, his speech, they're trying to state, caused people to commit crimes. God wins. Thank you again for the kind words. They're trying to say that his speech, where he used the word peaceful and patriotic, they're trying to say that his speech was part of some grandiose conspiratorial endeavor to remain in office. But Trump's goal was not to remain in office. Trump's goal was his primary goal was to show everyone that, in his view, he was completely railroaded and treated like Bernie Sanders in the DNC primary in 2016. He did not feel the results were fair and just and correct. That was his primary goal. It's not like Democrats and media try to spin this as his quest for power. Like he didn't want to, he couldn't leave. He couldn't leave because he was just this authoritarian despot that needed to stay in power. And the American people were, they were suffering with Trump, and the American people, were victims here of Trump's maniacal quest to stay in power. And that wasn't the case. Actually, Trump, if there was some kind of way that that Trump could actually get an acknowledgement that he was, in his mind, cheated, he would it wasn't, that was the main goal. That was the main goal. And when they say, well, there was no evidence, there were anomalies, bizarre anomalies, that a great many experts believed could not have taken place without foul play. These experts were never, like, for example, there's one person that Trump hired who couldn't prove one of the claims by Trump. This company or this person is being celebrated now. But there was a woman, I believe in Michigan, Saturday Night Live disparaged her. She saw very bizarre things take place. There were affidavits. There were people who signed affidavits. Rudy Giuliani didn't even give any evidence to back any of his claims in that civil case, because apparently for some reason he wasn't able to actually give the evidence. So he actually never had a chance to actually defend himself. Okay. The reality is Trump did not have enough. Okay. There was not a thorough enough investigation like the Mueller probe for 2 years to gather the evidence needed within that short time frame. He had 2-3 weeks to prove his claims. And then, for example, in Arizona, there was a company that had a whole bunch of revelations or questions regarding what took place, and then a quick rebuttal from county officials, and then it's viewed by media as being completely debunked. Not an ongoing discussion, not an investigation. Nobody was sent. Like, this is what happened. They search, when they accuse Trump of something he didn't do, they search for anyone who will flip on Trump. That didn't happen. When Trump made claims, there was nobody willing within government or within local government or state government. There's nobody willing to investigate. There were no investigations at all. And there were no Mueller probe style investigations. There weren't millions of documents and countless witnesses, and there wasn't any media support, and he didn't have the Federal Bureau of Investigation. He didn't have any of these luxuries that Democrats have when they're wrong. And they, it's really unbelievable when you think about it, that the interesting thing is that when Trump makes a claim, millions of people agree, millions of people can see what he's talking about. Even if you don't agree with him, there are millions of people who say, well, that makes sense. Okay, it doesn't make sense for a person who literally stumbles upon, can't communicate, stumbles over words, makes up words, and seems like he's sleepwalking, and speaks to a total of 3 or 4 people. You're creative, thank you. So Trump fills stadiums. Biden speaks to maximum 4, 5, 10 people. And one person is the most popular candidate of all time. More popular than President Obama. When have you ever heard, even there's never been a Democrat in the history of the Democratic Party that said Biden is more popular than President Obama? That's never, ever, ever been stated, ever. It's nobody even stated, I think that Joe Biden would make a great president before 2020. Trump has a base of support. Okay, the current president's base of support is just simply, a D next to the name, and then, Democrats just vote Democrat. That's it. That's it. They just vote Democrat. So he's going to win Iowa by probably 30 to 50 points. Okay? Probably by over 50 points. That's January 15th. To my super chat again, thank you everybody. Greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. That's you know, that's around the corner, ladies and gentlemen. That's around the corner. And you look and it's like they're trying to imprison the most popular Republican since Reagan. I mean, Trump is more popular, far more popular than Bush ever was, even at his height. Now, I would say, there was a moment that Bush, unfortunately, was very popular. Then he got us into endless military conflict and counterinsurgency quagmires. The only reason I say George W. Bush is worse than Biden was because he started the era of never-ending military conflict, the past 20 plus years. But Biden is up there. I mean, Biden has done nothing for the country. You look at what's taken place. More people lost their lives from you-know-what his first year in office. Okay? Not a word from media. Not a word from media. Okay? And so then you have inflation then you have the conflict in Europe that started almost immediately after he took office. Brought us to a nuclear confrontation. Okay? Then you have inflation that he ignored. So in 2021, I don't know if everybody remembers, Janet Yellen and Jerome Powell were saying that inflation was temporary. They used another word that could, awaken the censors. So I'll just use the word temporary. Inflation was not temporary. Okay. Then they raised interest rates through the roof. And so then they raised interest rates through the roof. And it's like, okay, why did you? And then poverty went up. So poverty is going up in the country. Then you see crime, the crime statistics with liberal DAs that have, okay, what Democrats do often is they'll take a very important topic like prison reform, and they'll include within that topic violent offenders, criminals who commit violence. There should not be prison reform for people who commit, take the lives of others or commit like violent felonies. Prison reform was meant, from the way I understood it, always meant for nonviolent criminals, people who shouldn't be behind bars, but who are behind bars because of technicalities. And so you have so many examples of people, especially in blue states, especially in liberal cities, that have lost their lives or have been the victims of just horrendous crimes because Democrats take the important topic of prison reform, which, by the way, Trump also embraced. First Step Act. And I believe with the First Step Act, you had to actually prove that, you could be let back into society. You'd be, a functioning, important, benefit to society if you were let out. You had to actually prove that. It wasn't just no bail for violent criminals. That makes no sense because they're going to go in and commit the same type of criminal activity. But hello, no PhD, hello. And so, you look and it's like, The DC special counsel against Trump is pretty much, it's essentially the legal case is on life support. Okay, if you look, like I said, the DC special counsel, the victims, the alleged victims here are the country, the process which Trump is alleged to conspire to overturn. Trump went through his attorneys and the courts. Trump went through the attorneys and the courts. Okay. That's, that's what he did. Okay, that's, they're trying to criminalize a person who was not only president at the time that he, didn't agree with results, but went through a whole bunch of attorneys and went through a whole bunch of legal challenges. Then they say Congress, because he tried to interfere in a ceremony, but that wasn't his intent at all, and everyone knows this. Everyone knows that that there was no intent there to commit a crime. Everyone knows this. Trump did not, that they shouldn't have taken place, but Trump did not, he didn't engage in, he didn't have that day, that protest, that demonstration, because he knew that, because he was trying to overthrow the government or trying to prevent Pence from signing off on the results. By the way, there was a psychic who predicted that Trump would lose on Fox News, which is really hilarious because the great Harry Houdini did a number on psychics in his day. Basically, found what was the spiritual readings? I forgot. What was the seances? Psychics and seances and all that. He did a number on. He found out, because he was a master and brilliant at, magic and utilizing his body to get out of a whole bunch of different, crazy scenarios. He also, at the end of, after when he retired, or when he was in the latter part of his life, he also spent a lot of time, and if you want to use the word debunking the work of psychics and the work of people who perform seances and all that. But anyway, Fox News is like, they fired Tucker Carlson, and then they hire a psychic, and it's like, if you're really a psychic, who's going to win the Super Bowl? I mean, be useful, good stock picks. Jim Cramer is like he's like the opposite of a psychic. So maybe he's a psychic, but in a different way. You just do the opposite of what he says, and then that's kind of like predicting the future. I'm sure a very nice person, but my God almighty. But I mean, ladies and gentlemen, it's interesting. If you look at, Trump is up in the polls. He's also, if you look, ladies and gentlemen, Trump leads Biden among Hispanic young voters. Trump leads Biden. Okay, If that is anywhere close to what takes place in November, if that is anywhere close to what takes place in November, I mean, there's just no, if that's, if that is, if that remains, okay, you have just a landslide victory for Trump, the most dominant victory that you've seen in a long, long time. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you this. Who will be here? Will you be here 10 p.m. Eastern for the live stream? I will have another live stream at 10 p.m. Eastern this evening. Quick show of hands. Who will be here? Bud Drake, that's right. So I will have a live stream this evening at 10 p.m. Eastern. But yeah, I mean, you look and think about it like from Mika Brzezinski's or Joe Scarborough's point of view. Like, they still get paid. I don't really think at a certain point they still get paid either way. Whether Trump if Trump wins, they get paid even more. So a lot of it is a theatrical performance. Former President Trump leading among Hispanic and young voters. So how on earth are Democrats going to get even close to Trump? So Biden earned 34%, 34% among Hispanics voters to Trump's 39%. Trump 39%. So he's up. Wow. Biden went from 65% in the polls to 34%. But I mean, who on earth? That's why I think they have to. I really do think they have to. I really do think they have to go with somebody else. I don't see how if they keep Biden, they get even close to Trump, no matter what they call him, no matter how hysterical and apoplectic and paranoid they get regarding Trump. I don't see it. I don't see it. So, I just don't see it, ladies and gentlemen. Biden goes from 65% to 34%. Trump, I think, got 27. He goes to 39%. I mean, Democrats have no chance. They have no chance at all. It's unbelievable. They have squandered away. They have squandered away every single possible advantage. Henry, thank you again. They have squandered away every single possible advantage known to mankind. And it's like you're losing, and then it's support from young voters. I mean, that's really interesting. Also, Trump leads voters under 35 by 37% support to Biden's 33%. If you're a young person, what on earth do you like about Biden? At least with Trump, you could say, okay, he, sticks up for himself and, everyone's obsessed with him. And at least, we had a great economy. He's the anti-war candidate. I mean, Trump is the anti-war candidate. That's a fact. That's a fact. The neoconservatives are voting Democrat. Henry, I don't think so. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think so. I think that I don't know. We'll see with the list coming out. That might throw a curveball in. But I think that even with the list coming out, Hillary Clinton, I don't see how Hillary Clinton doesn't run. I know that I've been saying this forever, but I don't see how they stay with Biden, and I don't see how Clinton just doesn't do it. Like, California's governor is going to, I don't believe, is going to run. I don't think anyone else is even close to running, aside from Hillary Clinton, because she has the one thing Clinton has that I don't think people realize is she has the infrastructure. She has the infrastructure. So, if he's up, and he's up among black voters, he's up among Latino voters, Trump, young vote, the youth vote. So, I mean, this is going to be an amazing year. Tell your friends about this channel, ladies and gentlemen. Hit subscribe. It's going to be an amazing year. It will really, really be an amazing year. And I'm just very thankful and happy that everyone is here with me. I'll be back at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Be here, everybody. God bless you all. I'll see you tonight. To my Australian viewers, and everyone around the world, I'll see you this evening. And obviously to the viewers in my country, the U.S.,